All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard to the Morning Note. My name is Carlos Garcia, founder and CEO of Gar Capital. It is Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. Glad to be with you this morning and every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here on our YouTube channel. I didn't do a live yesterday for the fact that it was Passover, and I thought, well, it's a holiday. I don't expect much to happen. And yet, a lot of things happened. So there you go. I figured that, there's nothing really to talk about at that point in time. But here we are back at it. Glad to be with you. Dow futures are down 72 points. The Nasdaq is up 84 points. A lot of that's Tesla, by the way. S&P is green. We traded Nasdaq futures last night, and we traded S&P futures last night. The Russell pulling back a little bit, down 0.41%. Luckily, we got our IWM calls. Well done, team. Crude oil is down 0.19%. Gasoline futures are down 0.16%. Good thing to see here is copper, $4.45. I have Freeport McMoran calls, so that's going to be helpful for us. Silver futures are down 0.12%. Gold futures are down 0.32%. Bitcoin is down about 0.5%. Ethereum is up 1.33. Grayscale is filing for an Ethereum ETF. So that'll be something interesting to watch if you're an Ethereum investor. Dollar yen is up 14 pips, 154.97. We're now at multi-decade highs on dollar yen. Dollar Canadian dollar, 137.11. That's up 48 pips, and the pound dollar is down about 16, with the euro down about 16 as well. Tesla, let's take a look at it. We had earnings yesterday, and wasn't a beat. But then you're probably thinking to yourself, well, they didn't beat Carlos. Why would they bounce? It's technical. It's a technical thing. And that's what I talked about. I expected Tesla to bounce. It is bouncing now, and we just filled for so far, at least pre-market. We have filled this first gap. Now the question is, do we fill it this morning? So now we know that we got that bounce off this support here. Let's say call it 140, 138 zone. We're gonna go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. It's not gonna have the current price, so just keep that in mind. We're a little higher. 160.58. We filled this gap here at 154 on the daily. We filled this one here at 167, 160.7. So again, this thesis is still holding up. I had this green line over here, yes. But again, it's still within range. So I had a note on it on the watch list and charts for our masterclass and premium members. So I kind of spoke about it in terms of a trader and an investor. So let's kind of go over the note together. And this is from our live market block. So we're going to go to scroll up a little bit here, and I do a post session report and a halftime report and a pre-market report for our members. So I'm with you guys every step of the way. I love this stuff. So post session report. This is my thoughts on Tesla. Wrote this yesterday at 4:50 p.m. I wrote that so far it is up about. It was at 154.86 after hours at that time of the writing. I expected the stock to go higher based on technicals. Wasn't as bad as feared, quote unquote. You start making excuses on why the stock went up or the stock went down. That's what analysts have to do. If you own Teslas because you believe in the big picture, mass EV adoption, electric vehicle, and technology and innovation, Tesla has patents on. So again, Tesla is not perfect. Stocks don't just go straight up. There's going to be a day in the future you're going to hate Nvidia because Nvidia is going to pull back one day. You guys remember 2022? Everyone hated Metaverse. Now everyone loves it. This is kind of the flow of things. But here are the gaps to fill. So again, I want you guys who are watching, maybe you want to go replay this, is to write down all the gaps. I do believe all these gaps will fill. It won't happen overnight, obviously. Give it about 12 to 14 months, I believe, maybe even longer, maybe 18 months. That last gap of 289 might come. Again, that we need a lot of things to work out for us. So here are the gaps in order of proximity: 160.95, 186.55. I know this is dollar denomination, but I'm saying dot, so at least you guys get the picture. 206.60, 220.70, 289.02, or $289.02. That's the final daily gap. So with that being said, again, I wrote this whole thesis down. And really what matters is what do we do now? So again, we filled that first gap, 160.95. We need a daily close above that, meaning today is going to be very key on what Tesla does. So let's keep that in mind moving forward. Let's have that in the back of our head that we still need to see the daily close. Yes, 161.42, great. I'm glad that we filled this gap. We need to close above that today. Now, You have one or two options. You can either wait for that close today and then see where we settle. Fair enough. And then we can go and dictate what's the next possible path. Or if we break these recent highs, pre-market highs of right around 164, then we can start targeting the gaps that we want. So with time, you got 186.55 as a possibility. I know that feels like a long way around. That would be kind of the target I'm looking for. Again, whatever has volume, that's really the important part. But as you can see, if we can break these highs, I would target this gap fill here, 186.55. So that would be pretty much the target that I'm looking for. Again, depending on the volume, I would like something around June. It might be expensive, so you may have to go a little further out. I would assume maybe the 200 calls would be it. And again, I know you're not going to get 200 by June, but maybe those catch a little bit of demand as people might be trading this Tesla turnaround, let's just say. So that's where we are on that. And we still got more earnings to come. So let's take a look at a couple of the names that are coming up. The good news is that we don't have any Fed speakers this week. They're in a blackout period. So here's what we got in terms of economic data. We had durable goods orders that came in better than expected. But again, we're at the lowest growth point since the pandemic. So take that as you want. I still believe that this economy is really based on doing stuff, not buying stuff. Buying things is really pandemic talk in a sense. People were at home ordering stuff. Now people want to go and kind of travel, see the world, and that's totally cool. I get it. You know, you're cooped up inside for 2 years. You want to get out there. When does that end? We'll see. I mean, keep an eye on these hotel companies, see how their guidance is. That's one way to test that thesis. But yet, retail sales have been on fire, and that's inflation adjusted. So people working, people are going to spend, and that's going to increase inflation one way or another, guys. The only way you're going to wring out that 2% level that the Fed wants, you really need people to lose their job and not spend. That's the only way prices go down. For example, with Nike, if people don't buy sneakers, they're going to lower their prices. If you can't find any sneakers in stock and they need more in stock, they're going to raise prices. It's all supply and demand, guys. Tomorrow morning we'll have some initial jobless claims. We'll see how that labor market is treating us. We also have a GDP coming up at 2.2% is the forecast. The previous number was 3.4%. That's the Q1 GDP coming up. So that's what we got. And good morning, all. Good morning, Capital. So we are ready to rock. That's where we are today. A couple things that I have open. Let's see here. I want to take a look. I'm waiting for that Valero earnings report to come out, and it has not yet. I still have Valero calls. So we talked about Tesla. XOM is still a freebie for everybody, and I still have it. And again, we're still just doing the cup and handle formation. Again, we're targeting 123.75. So far, we are holding up pretty well. And it's really going to be based on what happens on Friday, right? We have earnings. But my expectation is crude oil continues to go higher. There was actually something pretty relieving that happened in crude oil yesterday. And I want to break that down rather quickly before we call it a sesh. And you could see this upward trend line did break down, but it retested. So again, at least it bounced. I thought we would probably get to 79, which made me sweat a little bit in terms of Valero and ExxonMobil. But we do have inventories today at 10:30. If we can get above 84, then obviously I think ExxonMobil would be a big benefit for it. So I want to see how Valero comes in terms of their earnings. Halliburton did well in terms of energy, so maybe ExxonMobil has a great quarter as well. So we will see. At what range would you consider BA a long-term investment? Boeing. Boeing's going to be a tough one just for the fact that, those headlines can come back at any time. You're pretty much right near support of 166.82, but you're below every major moving average. So when it comes to this, you really want to get a confirmation of a change of trend. A good start would be above 200. I think when you get above 200, then you can have that conversation. But until then, no, because you don't know how further down the rabbit hole can go. What do you think of McDonald's earnings will be on Tuesday? I think that's next week. McDonald's and AMD always report at the same time. Um, I don't know exactly in terms of what I expect in terms of their earnings. I know that they had a little bit of an issue in terms of their last earnings when they pulled back. I think it was that they stated that lower income homes or lower income buyers are not buying as much McDonald's. McDonald's makes money off the franchises and off real estate. McDonald's ain't going anywhere, and it's a pretty boring stock relative to what you're going to get. So, in terms of growth stocks out there, past 3 years has been steady Eddie. If you go here since 2006, 2008, maybe, it's just been one way street up. If you own it, keep it. If you love it, buy it. I mean, McDonald's is great. The day they make 24-hour breakfast, I think that's when McDonald's is really bullish. Good morning, Carlos. You think 3M is another stock to hold on to as an investor? If you're just owning it for the dividend, sure. I think there's better options out there. 3M is a chemical company. I don't see the appeal, especially if you're young, really young, then I think there's better options out there. Are we setting up for a breakout? Yeah, right around 95. So if you get above 95, maybe you can trade it to 110. But I wouldn't be expecting much from this name. It's a dividend. I think it's a dividend. What is it? Aristocrat 3M. It's been around for a minute, years, decades. Hey, Carlos, do you think it's a good time to top up on Apple? All right, let's see it. Remember, we have earnings coming up, so maybe we want to wait for that, right? Probably a good idea. Let's wait for earnings, but we're right near a crucial area, 163.97. That needs to hold. That would be our major support right around 160. So 160 would technically be the first buy zone, sure. But waiting for earnings, let's see what the guidance says on Apple. And they also have I think an iPad event in May. So, Apple needs a growth driver and they don't got one. The only one is really the services, the iCloud and stuff like that, consumers, but it's still a phone company at the end of the day. They're not going to sell as many Macs as they did in 2000 and 2001 during the pandemic. So, really, for Apple, it's more of a wait and see approach because what hurts Apple is actually one of the best things about them. Their products tend to last, the test of time. You can own a MacBook Pro for like 8 years and still be satisfied with it, depending on what you do with it. Obviously, if you're doing some major video editing, maybe not. But once you get that cycle, it's kind of like the phone cycles. We have something called a super cycle with Apple. Again, this is a stock I've been analyzing for probably 8 years now. So that's what the analysts call it, super cycle. Every 2 years, back during when we had cell phone contracts, if you guys remember, you would have a cell phone contract for 2 years and you would get your iPhone 5 or iPhone 6S, whatever, at that time. So every 2 years, Apple would create a bit better cell phone or new model. Let's call it a refresh for the most part. I don't know how you refresh the phone. It's the same thing over and over for the most part. So with that being said, every 2 years you have that super cycle. When is the super cycle for customers post pandemic that need to update their Macs or update their phones? Would that be in 2026? Do you think 6 years would be right about right? Maybe every 5 years. Again, I think that's probably the next little sparkle that may come from Apple, maybe a little jolt in their EPS. I don't know when that will be, but that is something that I'm watching. Maybe traders are pricing that in, possibly for next year's EPS. I think Apple may give us a little bit of a hint in terms of their conference call, but they're not known for giving out guidance at all, actually. They're pretty quiet about that. With Apple, what I've noticed, again, 8 years of trading them, is they love to underpromise and overdeliver. They don't like to give forecasts. Aristocrate. 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 Oh, yes. Aristocrat. Dividend Aristocrat 3M. All right. So that's where we are, guys. I'm going to go and check in with my team, and I will catch you guys on. And let's make it a great trading day. And we will see you guys tomorrow. I want to go over real quick. I think I did the earnings. Meta today. Meta. So let's look at that rather quickly. Meta and IWM. Meta is probably the one I want to watch the most. It was part of my watch list. Take a look at it. You got two slots here, either the highs of 532 or we're playing the breakdown here to 405. Could it be that earnings gap there? It did break that trend line. So I would skip Meta, guys. Personally, I'd be neutral on it because it could go one way or another. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers all.